Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit. I like to sing to the earth, I like to hold her. She likes to sing to me, she likes to hold me. I like to sing to the earth, I like to hold her. She likes to sing to me, she likes to hold me. I carry fistfuls of leaves. I make love to the breeze. I carry fistfuls of bones. I trust they will lead me home. I carry grief on my wings. I know I caged birds sing. Through many turns of this moon, my women have suffered wounds. But my grandmother's with me. Close your eyes, can't you see? And my grandchildren are here. The rose, the crow, and the deer. I am surrounded by light, the light of stories. I need to quiet my mind, I need to listen. We are surrounded by light, the light of stories. We need to quiet our minds, we need to listen. Earth my body, water my body, air my breath and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my body, earth my body, earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 20th of 52 lessons from our elders and wisdom keepers. Today, we're going to be speaking about Grandmother Circle of the Earth and River Sidon, and we're going to have a few speakers explaining in detail what exactly this is all about and why we're doing everything that we're doing. It's for the trafficked children and saving and rescuing those trafficked children. So Susan is going to lead ceremony, and if you could now unmute yourself, Susan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to begin with some prairie sage as we're getting ready now to head back into Sundance season. And we'll be going up to Yankton Sioux next month to dance up there. And prairie sage is one of my favorites as it's right there growing along with everything else, the way we are when we're in ceremony. We don't leave the world to go to ceremony. We bring ceremony through us into the world. So I want to say good morning to everyone and good afternoon, depending on where you are, and good night if you're way out there in other places, and just to say hello. So I'm going to begin with a prayer, a short little prayer. Dear Creator, Grandfather, Grandmother, Creator Gods, as we now come together again on our beautiful Sunday to be able to listen to the voices of those who speak as hollow bones in this world, We know what a responsibility it is for us to be walking in this way. And we know that without you, we couldn't do it. So we're grateful. And gratitude is the number one feeling that we feel today. As we know that there are places in our world where there are wars, where there is suffering, where there are people who don't have enough, and where there are things that are happening that are far too much. We pray today for balance. We pray for healing, that those who have cried out into the night for help, that their voices will be heard, and that as we send our prayers, that they'll find their way to those people wherever they happen to be. We're thankful for our ability to work on behalf of the children. We ask for help to be able to do that in a way that is pleasing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Grandmother, grandfather, that great balance of life. Thank you for this chance. We invite you to be with us and our ancestors, those of our elders who have gone ahead, and those unborn faces that are yet to come to this earth. We invite them all to join with us here as we talk this day. We do this in the name that all that is good and pure, all that is unconditional love, all that is forgiveness, we ask this of you. Aho mitakiasi to all our relations. Aho. Okay, so today is going to be a little bit different. And Rodney and I have often talked about what we would do if we suddenly found out that we were going to have a different situation. And I told him once about how I had been given an opportunity to speak in Las Vegas at the convention center. And if anybody's ever been there, it's huge. And they have thousands of people there. And it was a women's conference. There were thousands of women, and there were 3 speakers, and I was the third and last one. And I was, we were all given like 2 months to prepare with our topic and our resources, our references. And the first woman gave her talk, and it was really nice. I loved it. And the second woman gave my talk and all my references, and left me without absolutely one word to say, with thousands of people there. And in that moment, I realized what absolute fear looks like and feels like. And I kept looking at these faces and thinking, what are they going to think? And I stood up and I thanked the woman for giving my talk. And I turned it all completely over to Creator. And I said, I have nothing more to say. So whatever comes now is coming from Creator. And afterwards, someone came up to me and asked me if they could use it in an anthology they were putting together. And I said, that'd be great, but you probably heard more than I did, so I can't help you there. And that's really what being a hollow bone is about. And sometimes we learn that the hard way. So when we can get out of the way and allow Spirit to work through us, then we begin to understand those higher principles of gratitude, forgiveness, unconditional love, because we know that we have been given that. And then our role then is to just make sure that we can be all those things in this world. So with that, I'm going to begin by saying that we didn't know we were speaking today. And when we found that out, we had a couple days to do something quickly about it. And so this was what we came up with. It's really important to us that we share with you the understanding of what it is that we're doing and why and who we are. Because really, all of you are in our circle. And it's a huge blessing for us to be able to know that. And we look out onto your faces now, and I see faces that are here every week. And now that we've started publishing those talks that are being given, we know that those are going outward too, and that you're sharing them too as well. And that's wonderful. We have no idea how many people are actually hearing and watching the talks that we're sending out, because it isn't about us. And at first I had such a heavy burden, Rodney and I both, of how we were going to protect these talks, because it seemed to me that they were treasures, great treasures of knowledge, and we didn't want them to be lost or watered down or in any way changed or tampered with. And then we realized that it really isn't about us. It really isn't. And so we let go of the need to feel responsible and send it with our love outward into the world. So let me begin by sharing a little bit about Grandmother's Circle of the Earth. And I see Gail and Grandmother Renee. I see Gail Cosmos, and I see Gail Whitlow, Grandmother Renee. Oh, there's Laurie. I see so many of you that have been with us from the very beginning. And that's really important. I'm going to call on Gail to say some words a little bit later as we go, and Renee as well. But I'm going to start out by talking to you about Grandmother's Circle of the Earth. We have an elder that we hold in common, Grandfather Leon Secatero. And all of us have been there, Gail and Renee, our Turtle Island Council grandmothers that include Elizabeth Babin. And I met a lot of them there. And Leon had talked to us about our work and about how we needed to go out. He had a stroke in Ottawa. I think I've mentioned that before. And he'd seen circles upon circles. And he talked to us about what our work was, and that we have a responsibility not just to go once, but to go over and over and to keep bringing the information that we were being given through things like those gatherings with him and with our other elders. And that information like that, this wisdom, is not to be held on to just to create, something wonderful for ourselves. It's to be blown through us like that sacred wind. And so we were doing a circle in the Mimbres in New Mexico. Gail and I, we were heading over there. We had some people, Bonnie Hobbs and Ruth Feigert, who had also helped us. I'd gone ahead and found a place where we could hold it. We had the Pachamama Alliance come. We got a phone call. Yes, there, Holly knows all about them. We got a phone call as we were crossing Kansas on the way back. Crossing Kansas, we ran out of gas because I forgot to put gas in. But on the way there, we got a phone call that a wonderful Mayan Abuelo Miguel Angelo, was wondering if he could attend, which was huge. We didn't have any idea that we were going to be doing anything like this. So he came, and it turned out to be the most wonderful experience. We had Carlos Provencio, who had run for governor of New Mexico and got a lot of votes. But we had just all these really fascinating people. And that was truly the beginning. I hold that, and I'm sure Gail does with me, as our first event for Grandmother's Circle of the Earth. And then from there, it just took off like wildfire. And we ended up going to Hawaii, from Hawaii to New Zealand, from New Zealand over to UK. Maggie's here. We've been to Maggie's home in Scotland. Yep, there she is. And you aren't going to come, so I'm so happy to see you. Yay. So we were all over these different places, and it just, one kept adding on to the other. It kept going on and on and on and on and on. And it was really a matter. I remember one time we were in the airport in along the Baltic Sea, Gdansk. We were in the airport, and this poor Kasha, who was trying so hard to keep all of us under control, just finally threw her hands up, because one of us was in the bathroom, one of us was getting coffee, a couple of us, I don't know what else we were doing. She said, "You grandmothers are like herding cats," and she just went berserk, because we were really hard to deal with. But it's because, we were all learning. We were learning too. And that was the most beautiful part about it. So everywhere we went, we met these wonderful women. And it started with 3 days gatherings. And I see Marcia Forrest. Yay, Marcia's here. It started out, we would have 3-day gatherings. During those 3 days, we would begin, Gail always began with her pipe. And we would start by coming in and doing blessings for the people that were there. By the second day, we had an idea of what those communities were facing in terms of challenges. So we would go into breakout groups so that we'd have different grandmothers with different groups. Are they having issues with drugs and alcohol with the grandchildren? Are they having issues with that with their children? Were we having a place where the grandparents were raising the grandchildren and it was such a challenge? We would create these groups. And then what we had learned, because we're retired professional women, we would share without charging. We never charged anybody anything. We just gave freely because that's what Leon said. You know, that was the blessing of having this richness of information that we'd gathered over our own lifetimes, was to be able to share outward without a price tag on it. And as a result, that's why we got to go to all these beautiful places, because people would bring us and then we'd stay in their homes. And so if we were going to be working in communities that had issues, what better way to find out what good we could do than by living in their homes and meeting their husbands and their mothers and their children. It was just beautiful. And they'd take us to their sacred sites. In Denmark, we got to go see those stone monoliths. It was just beautiful wherever we went. It was just beautiful. And it was because, to me, we left out that piece about having to make a lot of money. And yet, I believe that none of us ever went home empty-handed. None of us ever. And we had one grandmother who went with us, Karen Trujillo, and she told me, she said, Susan, I spent 6 weeks traveling, doing the work for the grandmothers. She'd been to New Zealand, Hawaii, to Europe in that 6-week trip. She said the whole time, the only thing I spent money on, she bought 1 cup of coffee in the Tucson, Arizona airport before she got on the plane. And yet we were treated so beautifully, not because of anybody that we were, but because of who we represented, by coming with that pure, unconditional love. And so now what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to begin to introduce some of the people who you may not have known about or may have, but who have been instrumental in allowing us the opportunity to do what we have done. Since 2009, we have been with so many people in so many countries. We have had so many unbelievable opportunities. And it's all because I believe we were willing to surrender and submit and to be to become part of something greater than who we are. And that's the work of the grandmothers. So the first person that I'm going to introduce you to, who I adore, I'm looking to see if she's going to turn pink. I love her. Her name is Jess Laughlin. And I don't know, really impressed, because that is truly who she is. And Jess, I don't even remember how I actually met her, but I know this. She was bodyguard for Brad at our wedding. And she was phenomenal. I have these great pictures of her standing there like this, supporting this giant Brad. And I don't know if she was protecting him from me. I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but I do know that she was wonderful. Well, she came on board as our director of security. And I'm going to tell you one example of what she did for us. Jess is a remote viewer, and she applies the principles of remote viewing to the work that she does as a protector warrior. And so we were heading out to go to Poland, and she called me up and she said, okay, grandmother, or Susan, I don't remember what called me, or hey you, I don't remember. But she called me up and she said, I need to share this with you. When you get to Poland, you're going to be in a place where there are a lot of trees. And she said, something is going to happen and you're going to get scared. She said, but don't worry, everything will be fine. So I thought, well, okay, that sounds somewhat good, right? So we flew off to Poland. I got off the plane and I discovered almost immediately, Gail and I, that everywhere you look in Poland, there's trees. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have this whole country to think about. So I forget how long we were there. I think it was, I don't remember for sure, maybe about 3 weeks, I think. The very last place, and I was so excited about this, the very last place, nothing weird had happened the whole time. We were in a place way up in northern Poland, very close to the Russian border. And it was a remote retreat center, and they had a big building with the sleeping places, and down in a valley, they had a yurt, a big yurt, and they rolled up the sides. And every day for 3 days, we were meeting in the yurt. Now, what would also happen, and this happened every single time without fail, wherever we had to go to work, there would be a man, and he would show himself up, and he would become that balance to me. And between the two of us, I could take care of the grandmothers with my love, and he would take care of them with his vigilance. But all over that was Jess. I always could feel her presence with us, even though we were there on the ground. So as sitting there, and we're talking, there are about 40 of us in a yurt, grandmothers from Poland and us. Suddenly, a couple came out of the woods, and they were mushroom hunting. They had cans with them, buckets. They were mushroom hunting, and they were fighting, and they were yelling, and they were screaming at each other, and it was really scary. I could feel my heart just, and I could feel everybody else react to that too. And they walked past us, 40 people in a yurt, and they didn't even see us. And they continued to yell and went all the way up to the top of the hill and drove away in their truck. And I was so happy. And I flagged the man across from me, and I said, don't worry, because I already knew that Jess had told me we would be fine. So I whistled all the way back. It was all over. We're getting ready to go home. I'm in the parking lot, and one of our Polish grandmothers came and tapped me and said, Susan, there's someone here who wants to talk to you. And I turned and looked, and it was a man who's completely out of his mind and out of his body. I could see that. He was just crazy. And I put my arm around him, because all I knew was that I had to get him away from the other grandmothers. There was nobody there to protect us. There was nobody there to help us. So I put my arm around him, and I held his arm, and we walked over. The only place to walk to was the edge of a cliff. I took him to the edge of the cliff, and I'm standing there thinking, what am I doing here? But I was asking him, I'm patting him down to see if he had any weapons. We just had the shooting in Denmark, and things like that, events like that trigger people who are imbalanced. And that's what had happened. This was within days of that big shooting. And as we walked away, I'm looking to make sure that, that everything's all right. And I started talking to him, and it turned out that he had been in his room 2 days earlier in Spain, and he had been watching, he'd been asleep. He said a South American shaman had come in and told him that America is evil and it's going to destroy the world. And he woke up and turned on his computer and saw that Native Americans were coming to Poland. So he jumped in his car and drove 2 days to confront me in this parking lot of this remote retreat center and demand to know, why am I destroying the world? So I'm walking with him by the cliff, and I'm trying to think of a really good answer. And I asked him about himself, about his family, and he started telling me what was going on in his life, and his little boy wouldn't live with him in his home and different things. And I said to him, do you see what's up there in the sky? And we looked up, and I said, it's the new world. I said, it's the new world, and it's coming. And there's absolutely nothing that anybody, any government, any country, any bad people, anybody, anything can do to keep that new world from getting here. And in that new world, you're needed. You are so important. Your little boy needs you to come home and get the help you need so that you can be strong, and he'll come back and live with you. And by now we're both crying and hugging each other. And he thanked me and drove back to Spain. And the reason I could do that was Jess, because she gave me what I needed before that moment even arrived. And that was the promise that all would be well. And that's the role of our warrior protectors, to be there for us even when they're not there. So with that, and I did let Jess know I was going to start with her story, I'm going to pass it to her. Jess?
Hello, everybody. So there's a couple other things to that story. I remember telling Auntie, I said, when I had that call with her before everybody left, I said, there's going to be someone who shows up, and they're going to be angry, and they're not themselves. They're lost. And that's essentially what she ran into. Part of how I'm able to do what I do is that I run on love. And I run on love without assumption, and I do my best to run on love without bias, and I do my best to do it without being unnecessarily reactionary or judgmental because the reality is we're all the same. We've all got different experiences and we're all going down different paths, but it's the same road. And we've all got different hurts and different pains, and we all face them differently. And sometimes that's not pretty, and sometimes it's beautiful, but we're all human, right? And so if I were to go even further back to 2009, when Susan asked me if I would take on this role, I said, well, I've got to think about it. And it was winter when she asked me. And, you know, I was living in Oregon, and I went up in the mountains, and I believe it was near my birthday, actually. And everything was covered in snow. And me and my wolf went up there and we hung out for a while. And I finally got an answer. And I was a little surprised that the answer was yes, because I thought, I don't know if I'm up for this job. You know, I'm just me. But when I talked to her about some of these things several years later, and I remember you were surprised that I kept popping up no matter what country you were in or what you were doing. I'd be like, tap, 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 hello, there's this thing. And, you know, maybe watch out for this. Because, you know, you were so well protected and enveloped in love and surrounded for this journey you were going to be on. And my answer was simple. It is, as far as I'm concerned, there is not a force more powerful on the face of this earth than unconditional love. That can cross any boundary. It can invade any space. It can create change in ways that we don't expect. And it takes practice, right? Because the world will twist and turn you if you let it. But we're responsible for ourselves. So, you know, when I think about, I've always been wired this way, which is a blessing and a curse, right? It's a lot of work. But when I think about that journey, that choice to stand up, to put myself sometimes in between parties that would otherwise harm each other, or to speak out and tell the truth, or put a stop to hate, or whatever it is. And, you know, being a queer person, I've had a lot of practice at that. It takes courage. And so when you're trying to help people learn that aspect of being a protector, learn that aspect of being the warrior, the healer, the lover, we also have to teach courage. And we have to put it into practice, because the world is not always kind. And that's okay. It's part of the world. It's part of the healing that needs done. Courage is necessary. You might face people who are broken. You might face situations that are dangerous. You might face isolation. You might face all kinds of things. And so you need courage. You need follow through. But on top of all of those things, you need support. Because those folks, they give. They need input too. They need unconditional love. They need healing. They need a safe space to go to recover. Right? Because they got to have balance. They can't just push and push and push and push. So, you know, love deeper. Love without judgment. Offer that space. You know, my house is a revolving door. And sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it just keeps revolving. I buy a lot of tea and coffee. But that space is super important. And sometimes it means listening, and sometimes it means vomiting up an experience you had, and sometimes it means, trauma bonding so that you understand you're not alone. It could be anything. But human connection is imperative to helping people. And it doesn't matter which side you're on. You can be a broken person struggling and still unwittingly heal someone else. We all do. And it's just a matter of what choice we make minute to minute and being aware of how we choose to walk down the path, right? I choose every day to do the best I can, and I am imperfect as hell, to not be ruled by pain, to not be ruled by fear, to not be ruled by all of the ways in which I see people hurt other people, but instead by the experiences that I've learned heal, and by the experiences I've learned create safety, and the experiences that I've learned create change, and I let those things fuel me instead. That's my choice. I choose what goes in that fire in my belly. The rest of those twigs, they get tossed out. I don't need them. I don't want them, and they don't belong inside me. So that's pretty much what I got to say.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Is there any doubt with anybody how wonderful she is? And I have to tell you, all those years back, Jess taught me so much because I was her token Mormon. I learned about the rainbow and all that other kind of stuff. I mean, it was awesome. Jess is a wonderful teacher as well. So, Jess is a grandmother. She's a grandmother. She is a protector warrior. She is everything. And I'm going to just say this one thing. While we were talking on the phone this morning, her wife called and just said, "Hey, I got to put you on hold." And she put me on hold and came back a minute later. She said, "I just had to make sure she was okay." That's the woman that she is. That's who she is. And I love you, Jess. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Okay, so the next person that we're going to go to is Rodney. So Rodney, here's the talking stick.
Thank you, Susan. Hi, everyone. Susan's wanted me to share a little bit about how I've come to be with the grandmothers in River Sidon. I'm a father of 4, 3 daughters, grandfather of 2. In 2015, I moved down to Arizona, Fort Defiance, actually, on the reservation. And for 11 months, I met with 11 women for 2 to 3 hours, and I was taught Reiki and spiritualism by Lavina Pete and Michelle Morgan Flowers, and brought to a lot of ceremonies and it was a lot of growth for me, a lot of looking in, and I was thousands of miles away from home, thousands of miles away from my comfort zone. So I just sort of threw myself into it. And it was an incredible experience. I became a Reiki master down there as well, taught by Lavina Pete, who was taught in Japan in the original school. So I feel very, very blessed for that. I was there 11 months, and then I moved back to Canada, where I'm from, BC. And I was faced with a homeless situation. One of my children had actually sold my home. And so I needed somewhere, and I was directed to the Indigenous, who were having a peace camp on a mountain near Lillooet, BC. So I went up there totally on faith, trusting spirit. And like I literally had nowhere to stay. I didn't know if I was going to be allowed to stay. And it was a women's gathering. There was 25 women there. And Christine Jack, who's a very powerful Lillooet Statlium Indigenous member, she was guiding these women through healing. And their cook had bailed, that wasn't able to make it. And I showed up, and I cooked for 25 women for 4 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was one of the most profound things in my life. It really, really was. Christine would beat them up with ceremony all day long. They'd come back crying, and I'd give them Reiki. I remember giving Christine's sister, Trudy, Reiki, and she started crying, and she asked to be hugged. And she's an elder, and it was so incredibly powerful for me. There was so many times. There was Women had said, because of you, Rodney, you alone, I have faith in men again. And I believe that is one of my roles. As Susan has pointed out, I've carried the grandmother's medicine for a long time. And it's been hard fitting in with men when they're all about the body and stuff like that. And it burns my very soul when I hear men talking like that. So I several years ago, 2-3 years ago, I woke up to a message from Susan. And I was a member of Grandmother Circle the Earth, and she had asked me to be an admin. I was profoundly moved, brought me to tears. It was just powerful, powerful stuff. And then I was attacked. And what's a man doing in the GCE group? And I just held my ground and kept my mouth shut. And as I should, I'm here to protect. I'm not here to talk. I'm here to be behind Susan, like in that camp in Poland. I'm that man that stands up and protects the grandmothers. And it's been hard at times to be grouped in with those men, because women often look at you like you're another one of those men, and I'm not. And it's been hard, but because of beautiful people like Susan and my daughters and so many other elders I've been introduced to, Labina, Michelle, Christine Jack, I've been shown that the only true way for a man to be awakened is through the feminine divine. The feminine divine can create life. Men cannot. As much as our ego and pride wants to think that we can do it, we cannot. I need to let someone in. We need the feminine energy to open and awaken that within us. And I'm so very grateful for those 11 women for 11 months in Arizona. I'm so very grateful for Christine Jack in Lillooet for the 4 months. I spent 4 months alone with a medicine woman in Lillooet. It was amazing. They taught me so many things. I can can over an open fire right now. It's so beautiful. I feel so blessed. I've been invited also to be part of River Sidon. I'm gonna let Susan talk more about that, but I've taken it upon myself. I was actually at the beginning of all these wind voices. Creator and my guides speak to me quite often, and I'd get locked up if I said that to any other group of people, but it's okay here. And they told me that, Rodney, this is important. When I am responsible to record it for 7 generations. So I've really taken it upon myself, just get someone else in, to really, I made a mistake once, and I've really put it upon myself. This is very serious to me. We're rescuing trafficked children. We're doing everything we can. I have children. I have grandchildren. It's a $150 billion a year industry. There's 5.5 million trafficked children every year. And this is what this is all about. We're just trying to do all we can to rescue those children, to take away, we're gonna watch a video later, and it was profound to me. And there's 6 or 7 years life expectancy after being recovered from child trafficking. And there's a video later that if they can forget that, if they can forget those memories, then you don't have that 6 or 7 death sentence. And Susan is beautiful doing this with Jessica. And I just feel so honored and so privileged to be part of this every week. To me, it's like the spiritual lottery. I've won the spiritual lottery, meeting Susan and being taken under her wing. And I'm so incredibly grateful, Susan. I love you so very much. And I thank you. And that's all I'm gonna say. Let me make sure you're unmuted.
Thank you, Rodney. I'm unmuted, but I'm speechless. So thank you for that. Rodney is a gift, and he saves Brad, because Rodney is my first call in the morning and my last call at night. And we're always processing to be able to be on these calls week after week after week the way we are. I cannot tell you what we're going through, because every speaker is so profound and brings so much information and so much growth. And then during the week, Rodney and I are like little ping pong balls bouncing back and forth, because we're able to hear all these beautiful speakers. So thank you, Rodney, for that. And what we're going to do now, and let me just begin with explaining a little bit about the River Sidon, because some people don't really understand. The grandmother circle the earth that we've been talking about is like a big ocean liner. And Martha Paquin, who I don't think is on the call, but who's a dear friend of ours, she always had talked about her dream, which was to have a giant ocean liner filled with grandmothers traveling all over all the 7 seas and teaching wherever we would go. That's what she wanted. So I began in my mind to visualize grandmothers circle the earth as this beautiful ocean liner. And then I realized that we had to do things a little bit differently. We started to file a 501c3, but we got so busy that we weren't able to keep up with it. And so that was in 2009. In 2015, I was issued a personal invitation to come for an IRS audit. And if anybody knows what an IRS audit is, you don't want to do that. You don't want to ever get that letter. They told me to bring all my records. And if anybody knows me, they know I have no records. And they wanted me to bring my bank account, which averages about $12. So I felt, well, I could do that. But I had with me a woman by the name of Bonnie Hobbs from New Mexico, who, as I said, had been there from the very first gathering in 2009 and literally has a photographic memory. So I brought her with me. She was there to visit. She said, you have nothing to worry about. I'm here. So we went to our audit. They began asking me questions. Bonnie had every single answer the woman wanted. And finally, I said to her, why didn't you invite me here? And she said they were sitting around the Attorney General's office. I think that's who it was. And they were talking about Grandmother Circle of the Earth because I'd started filing and never followed through. But they remembered reading or hearing about us on the internet. So they wanted to know how we could go all the places we go and get to meet all the people we meet. We've never filed a single tax letter or tax statement or whatever you file. And so I explained to them, just the same way as when Gail and I were in London, trying to get into London through the airport 2 days before the Olympics started. And I only had $7, or no, I think I had $14. And the lady kept saying, well, what are you going to do while you're here? Are you going to work? And I said, no. And this is long thing. I could never pass any of these tests. But Creator always saved me. Gail skimmed through like just amazing, like this beautiful bird, her eagle that she is. She sailed right through. And me, I'm over in the corner facing prison time. It was crazy. But I always get rescued. Somehow I get bailed out. So back to this. So what happened here with this audit was that we were able to show that we're different. She joined Grandmother Circle of the Earth, our IRS lady. And from then on, we've never had another problem. So what we're going to do now is we are the big ship, the Grandmother Circle of the Earth. We needed to create a safety valve. We needed to create a little tugboat to get that ship in and out of the harbor. So we started River Sidon Peace with Justice Project. That's who's putting on the wind voices. And so we have a board of directors of really qualified people. We have a CPA who is from Cameroon, Africa, and understands everything about international finance, which is what we needed because we're international. We have a treasurer now who has years of experience. We have all these wonderful people in the River Sidon who protect the big ocean liner. And it's working perfectly. So now, because we have the River Sidon, we're able to begin to really do the in-house projects that we've wanted to do. And so what we're doing is we are developing programs now, filed our 501c3. We've already gotten our letter. We're waiting now just for our final thing, but we've got more things that we're going to share with you. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the programs that we're doing in the River Sidon because they are replicable. Is that the right word? Replicable or replicatable, whatever it is. We're going to do it in a way that we can give an outline of it and send it to any grandmothers anywhere in the world so that they can do this without having to go through all the different steps themselves. We'll give it to them in a little package already neatly put together. So we're going to talk about a couple of those programs. So we're going to start. This is Ann Smith had invited us to be able to participate in something, and I got to actually sing a song to my hero, Joanne Shenandoah, and I'm nowhere near a singer, but I got to do that, and it just made my life complete. And Joanne has given us permission to share her video, and so Rodney is going to play that video now, and then I'll take you into some of the programs in the River Sidon.
Breaking news at this hour, a teenage girl has gone missing. According to Police Chief Stephen Randall, 19-year-old Juliet Palmer was last seen leaving the Stony Brook Mall, the man appearing to be 25 to 30 years old. If you have any information on her whereabouts, please contact the Stony Brook Police at the number listed below.
This song is dedicated to the missing and murdered Indigenous women. Mason Gwait Disu, our creator, bring them home. On this cold winter night, I recall summer days, the color of fall, and spring's misty haze. Her words echo strong, her laughter and tears. I'll never forget every blessing and fear. Where did you go? I long for your voice, rings clear in my mind, like a whisper or choice. Where did you go? I call out your name, I'll be waiting for you. Please come home again. She was wearing a dress with flowers in bloom. She was sharing my smile. With all my soul, I miss you. Please find the strength to break free and come home. You're here in my heart. You are never alone. Where did you go? I long for your voice. Rings clear in my mind, like a whisper or
So a couple of years ago, things were really changing for me. And because of that, with Brad going into the veterans home and trying to manage a farm by myself, and actually it was probably about maybe 3 years ago, I think, closer to that. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was trying to work on the grandmothers and trying to start a local program where I could, develop the templates that I wanted to do. And I had my hands full to overflowing. And we were having a problem with our barn. And I do rescuing of animals. So I had animals that were in the barn that needed to be warm. And the barn door was just really, really bad. And I had no clue what to do. And one day, this guy showed up out of nowhere. And I have a picture of him standing there working on my barn door. And I didn't even know who he was, but he gave me a hug. And there's something about a hug that will change your whole life. And so this person came from nowhere, fixed my barn door, gave me a hug, and then went on and has fixed about 80 billion other things in our lives since then, whether he's liked it or not. I never know how he feels about it, but he takes such good care of Brad. He's becoming Brad's caregiver now. He has been taken to Brad's reservation. They went up, traveled up there where some of Brad's family and some other elders were there. They did a ceremony. Brad took him to be his brother in the ceremony and was able to then transfer some of the responsibilities like taking care of me. So he became my travel companion. And we've been to Bogota and up into the mountains to be with the mamos. And we've been up to Menla and Phoenicia, New York to do workshops up there. I think we were in 16 states in a couple of days. I don't remember how long that was, a few days, just doing all this work. And it's like nobody ever asks him what he feels about that. He just keeps on going. He just keeps on doing the things that need to be done. So what he has done now is he's created a men's program. And this is really important to me because to me, this whole thing about missing and trafficked women, abducted women, sex trafficking of children, we have to begin, in my feeling, we have to begin with the men. But that's not my job. I can't do that. We need the men to work with the men. And so as we listen to Rodney and we hear and feel his beautiful spirit, I believe that that's what's happening in these beautiful men. They're stepping up. So I'm going to share quickly because I don't want to take up any more time, but I do want to share this vision because I feel like it's important. I was praying about how we could do this. What is it that we need to do with the men? And I had a vision. And in this vision, it was the witches being burned. And when Gail and I were up in Europe and Marcia and others, we knew that this was the area where that was really a big thing so many years ago. But the wounding is still there in the women. And the wounding, we didn't see as many men there as we see around here now, that were part of all this. They were beautiful, strong men, and they know who they are, and I love them with all my heart. But it was really interesting to me. But what I saw was that as these women were burned at the stake for being witches, and these, of course, were the herbalists, the midwives, these were the healers, these were beautiful women who were being burned. They did other things to them too, terrible things, amputations, awful kinds of things. And as they did this publicly in these village squares, in the crowd would be the men who loved them, their fathers, their sons, their husbands, who knew who these women were, knew that they weren't evil, knew that they weren't wicked, knew who they were. And the pain, I felt it. It was given to me to feel in a moment, only a moment, because it would have been unbearable to go on with life, I think. But I felt that pain that they must have felt watching this happen to their beautiful mothers and grandmothers. And as that woman released her earth suit, as her body slipped to the ground, her medicine passed to those men. And for generation after generation, they have been carrying the weight of these women's medicine. And now it's time to give it back. But it's coming back in a different way now. It's coming back in balance because we're learning to carry it together. We are learning to heal together. We are learning that in the truest sense of the word, we are equals because we are the divine balance of the masculine and the feminine. And the men protect the grandmothers. And the grandmothers protect the men. There's that picture of the wolves where the female has her head underneath the chin of the male as he's snarling back and forth with another wolf. And it looks like he's protecting her, but in reality, she's protecting his throat. And that's what it's all about. We're working together. So to me, what came to me is that the very first thing we need to do then is create a strong men's program where men working with men can help each other to understand that role of what the true warrior protector is that Jess was talking about too, that unconditional love. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to our brother, Willie McLeod, Brad's brother, who Brad adores with all his heart. And now that Brad's home, he says to me about every 15 minutes, is Willie coming over? When's Willie going to get here? What time is Willie coming? And he has refused to walk anywhere with me. He's only willing to walk with Willie. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Willie.
Thank you, Susan. First, I'd like to acknowledge my elders. I've been on the Red Road for many years now. In '94, I was blessed to go on a visiting quest. And like life gives us obstacles, we go on separate journeys during this process of growing. Susan came into my life about 4 years ago and asked me to help her on a project, and I was humbled in doing so. And we've grown since then. I'd like to acknowledge Brad Walkenberger as my elder, and he adopted me into his family, and I was such an honor, humble myself in taking this blessing upon us. The program we got is a wellness, Whispering Winds wellness program for men, and in 2019, I had a real good friend of mine. I ride with a whole bunch of friends on motorcycles, and he had did 3 tours of Vietnam or Iraq, and he had a hard problem with depression and anxiety attacks. And I had talked to him constantly. We would run on the ride on the Friday, and then I'd talk to him Saturday. And then Sunday, I got a phone call. It said he had hung himself. And it hurt me deeply that I wasn't there. So I talked with Susan. I enjoyed the blessings I've had with Susan in many places and been able to experience things in Bogota, New York. We went to 14 states in 12 days. And blessings given to me through the elders that I humble myself to be worthy to them. The feminine part of me is touched by being able to perform the duties that I have are given to me. And we have a program that meets every day, Monday. And we continue to grow closer as a group. I'll say men change their lives in a matter of weeks. And for me to be able to do that and do my part in helping those is the biggest gift that I am able to share with others. And I appreciate that blessing from us.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you, Willie. I want to tell you guys, there's nothing harder than having to take care of somebody else's wife. And he does a really good job. He's the kindest man. We fight like cats and dogs, but we get so much accomplished. And he's right. We have seen the changes in these men in just such a very short period because Willie goes from his heart and he's able to open up to that level of compassion and unconditional love that we need to be able to show. So as we do this, as we watch this happening with our men, they then are there for the women. And that's the part. So we don't have anybody to talk about our women's group because the woman that's running our women's group is on a weekend camp out with her recovery group. Because the reality is we're all in recovery. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know anybody that isn't in some level of healing. And so she's a beautiful woman. You will love her. You'll see her more. But in everything that we're doing, we're creating the story, the narrative, the templates that we can pass to you. So we're going to move to the next one then. And thank you, Willie, again for everything. We're going to move to the next one. So Rodney. So here we are in Vitality. This is the store that Jessica has created and filled it with so many beautiful things. And this includes some things that have been done by our young women. And they're in the middle of working hard and still creating those things. But this is the program called Stepping Stones. And Jessica is the director, the founder and the director of Stepping Stones. And so Jessica, could you just take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit about the project?
Stepping Stones is a project that helps kids from the age of 13 until they're 18. Basically, we give loans to the kids to be able to start their own businesses. I sit down with them and I teach them different skill sets, I guess you could say. I teach them how to make different things. Right now, the girls that I'm working with, we are learning how to make sun catchers, and we're using epoxy, and we're using different kinds of colors like resin colors, mica powder, resin colors, alcohol, all different types of colorations. We use beads, we use glass, we even have herbs to our own disposal to be able to incorporate, as well as healing stones, pretty much anything that we want. I'm teaching the girls how to make them, and then after they get enough inventory underneath them, then I also set them up with their very own Facebook business page. After their first set of sales, then we then buy business cards for each kid, or for each child. And right now we have one that has graduated to the point to where she has her own website, her own business cards, and her own email. And they all have, when they get to this point, they all have their own debit card where their money goes straight to their debit card. And I teach them the business side of it as well as the skill set. I teach them how to save their money to be able to restock their supplies and their products, and then turn around and make a payment on their loan. I teach them the whole picture, not just a little tiny bit of it. Also, with the project, I have I have volunteered us to go to different vendor fairs, and I will have a display set up for the girls along with some of the stuff from Vitality for the girls to be able to be in the public and sell their own merchandise and explain to people what it is that they do and what they make and why they do it. And we do this because, well, to be honest, the world has changed and these kids aren't kids anymore. And we want to save these kids from going down a really hard path, like a path that I went down. We want to save them from trafficking. We want to save them from drugs. We want to save them from being lost to the point to where they feel like the streets are their only answer. We give them the confidence to believe in themselves and to have faith in one person, even if it's somebody other than a parent.
In the fridge.
I want to tell them that we support them and that we have faith in them. And it doesn't matter what we think when it comes to their products. If they like it, we want them to have faith in themselves that they can go farther. I'm just giving them a little tiny pebble to pave their pathway through life. And hopefully, I mean, Haley's going to college soon. Who's to say that later she gets bored like I did after college and says, I don't want to go to college anymore, and then she decides to open up her own vitality. I gave her that little pebble to be able to get there. And that's all I care about.
Thank you, Jess. And I would like to throw in here the part about how one of your girls had some real serious emotional issues, and you helped her with her family situation. You helped her with her medical needs by being a supportive part of that. And you took her into the different other aspects of what you do and shared that life with her as well. And I think that's what sets you apart from just any typical type of program director, because you don't have just one arena. You also are an animal rescue. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
I have always loved animals. I grew up around animals, dogs. Well, I had a dog, a cat, but my family had an ostrich farm. And we had different types of animals on our farm. So I was always around animals and I always loved them and I was always saving something. And a few years back, I got the opportunity to rescue a pig. And I chased a meat truck down a highway going 90 miles an hour to pay this man $50 for his big fat pig that they were taking to slaughter. And he was a pet. And after that, I finally had made the decision, after years of rescuing random animals, lizards, frogs, turtles, snakes, everything, that I really wanted to be serious about it. But I was mainly focused on pigs. I currently have 3 pigs, but in the past 6 years, I have successfully been a part of rescuing and saving over 786 pigs. That's pigs, mama pigs, daddy pigs, and baby pigs. I've also saved goats. Right now we have 2 milk goats, 2 bottle babies at the farm that live in the house, as well as 2 barn cats and their 5 kittens. We also have 2 pigs in the house, 1 in the barn, and we have 2 dogs that are rescues as well. And then we have 2 disabled cats that I've rescued. I also rescued last summer 24 chickens that were going to be slaughtered due to COVID, due to a commercial farmer that his responsibility was to euthanize all 43,000 of his birds. And we were able to rescue 24 of them between me and 4 of my friends. We still have 6 of them out at the farm. So I constantly am working with animals. I'd rather you not bring me your baby bunnies though, because I love them, they're adorable, but it's a lot of work.
Okay, so speaking of the farm then, Jessica, that's another hat that you wear in the work that you're doing with the River Sidon, because you're also the property manager.
Yes.
So if you could just tell us a little bit about that job.
Well, I have to protect the property and everything on the property, which includes the animals and everything on the property. We do have cabins that we house homeless, anybody that's homeless, but mainly we try to focus on mothers, domestic violence victims, and veterans. Also addicts that are wanting help. And with me being the property manager comes along with, well, when we have problems with these addicts, I'm also the bouncer. I'm the bouncer of the club. So I, have to kind of throw my weight around sometimes, but I only do it to make sure that everything and everybody that's on the property is protected.
Thank you. I have one more question for you.
Uh,
How much do you get paid for this job, these jobs?
Monetarily, nothing.
Thank you. Okay. There is my highlight of why it's so important when we are gifted these donations, and we invite a $10 donation from those who are listening to invoices, because that's where the money goes to help to make this easier for Jessica. But in all reality, she doesn't get a salary, and she doesn't complain about that either. And we're going to be working on our grants. We're waiting for the finalization of our 501c3. But in the meantime, we couldn't wait to start the programs because the people and the animals were already coming. And she forgot to tell you about her emu and the one-eyed little horse named Ziggy Marley and
Burrito.
Little Burrito, the mini burro.
Don't forget
So,
Henry,
yes.
Rooster.
So she does have her hands full, and Jessica, there's nobody like Jessica on this whole earth. So I'm also going to introduce you to Haley. And Haley is another really interesting person. Haley is she's actually our very first GED student who is taking that GED course online so that she can get her high school diploma. And she's affiliated through that with the Southeast Community College and with Iowa Works, which is actually paying her a paycheck. She gets paid $65 a week for 9 hours a week that she can do on her computer. So I'm going to ask Haley if she could just tell us a little bit about how she feels about her GED class.
I feel very happy that I get the chance to catch up to what my school had held me back for not talking right. I'm really happy that I get the chance to get my life in order and not fall behind like my brother thought I would. So I'm actually very glad that Susan gave me the chance.
Thank you, Haley. Okay, so I have another question for you. You wrote something really beautiful, and I was going to have you read it, but I feel like it's really deeply personal to the people that you wrote it for. So without reading it, if you wouldn't mind just saying a couple things about that, because when I read it, I realized who you are, and I saw you for this beautiful woman that you are in the process of becoming. So if you could just tell us a little bit about that and why you wrote it.
Which one?
The one that we have in the back room.
The one that says that even though you got hurt, don't look into the past, but into the future. Because even though you get hurt, if you keep looking in the past, it hurts the most. And I know how it feels because I looked in the past too much and that hurt. But after I had met some people that changed my life, like Josie and Susan, I've been looking in the future and not really in the past anymore. Because I have other things I need to get in order. I have my family I need in my life, and I'd rather not give them the whole time for looking in the past when I should be looking on the bright side.
Thank you, Haley. Thank you very much. I am honored to be working with both of you. I know that you know how I feel about that. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you're putting into what we're doing. And as this program goes on today, it's going to become very evident where we're all moving with what we're doing here today. And right now, as we sit here in Vitality, we're creating something, we're manifesting something that will change the world. And we just do it one person at a time, beginning with ourselves. So thank you both very much for everything that you are and everything that you give to the world. we are blessed to be able to have you with us. I hope.
You want to unmute yourself, Susan?
Maybe you can unmute her, Rodney.
I'm looking.
Yeah, sometimes you can't. She has to. Bottom left of your screen, Auntie.
I love you, Jess. Okay, so here I am at the very, so now we're really gonna just go right to the very end of this story. I do want to tell you one thing. Haley was instrumental in saving 3 other girls from going to Queens, New York on a week holiday at Easter time that was going to be financed by a man that one of the girls had met online. And she and I downloaded 2 videos about sex trafficking in Queens and the sex trafficking court there. She sent it to the girls and said, "You are absolutely not going. It is dangerous. We're not doing this." And you know what? That's how it is. Just one person affecting one person, affecting one person. We are literally changing the world. So with that, now I'm just telling you, this is just tiny little bit of the people that are working with our projects. And I wanted to get Gail and Renee to talk too, but we just have to go to Deb because Deb is taking us to show us all where the ship is going now. And Gail and Renee are part of this. They know what this is about. The others of you, VBK, others, I'm going to just pass this on to Deb. Deb, you've got it now. This is Deb Citron.
So Rodney, can everyone hear me? I'm good. So first off, I just want to say peace and love to everyone. I'm pretty much overwhelmed at this point, having listened. I was just taking a little couple of notes and Jess, I want to thank you for what you said about unconditional love and practice and the courage of it. That was pretty much how I felt when I met Susan years ago at Martha Paquin's waterfall. And Gail, you just dropped in out of nowhere on your way home. And to begin a process and a journey of helping the grandmothers be able to go to the United Nations. And Rodney, for sharing, okay, who you are, where you've come from. Just, you do carry the grandmother's medicine. You carry the feminine, just as my Howard is there with you. Brad, Willie, Rodney, many other wonderful protectors. And for the programs, as you all have looked at this, Willie, for the program you have just recently started, the Wellspring Wellness, I think it's incredible because it isn't just the girls and the women. The men have got to find their way to the feminine. And then to Jessica and Haley, I know you're not on, but you'll hear it through mental telepathy and spirit, and Susan, but all the different programs that are going on, and to Haley, knowing how to look forward into the future. And And that's where we are. Susan has talked about the grandmothers and where they have been. And Grandmother Renee, that's where I met you, was in New York. And Anna Lee and Grandmother Elizabeth and so many others that have influenced and just taken me in. And so where is that path? Where is that journey? And it is so time for the grandmothers to be part of and to be sharing. As Susan has said, they have already begun internationally. But what will help this flower unfold is that we move into the world of what is called NGOs, which are non-governmental types of organizations that are all out there for many different reasons, doing beautiful, beautiful work. And as I went to New York, I was able to be and go under one of these organizations, IPPI, International Policy Institute, Public Policy Institute. Anna Lee at the time headed it up, and what a character. Earthchild Institute, Ann Smith, if you're on, I mean, you were one of the ones that allowed us all to come and to be at what is called CSW. So some of you may say, well, Deb, you're throwing out NGOs, CSWs, you know, what is all this? So it's time for these programs and these practices to be shared. It's time for us to, as Susan has said, circles within circles, to help each other across the world. And how best and what can we use to do that? And NGOs are a way. NGOs, they open up vistas, they open up opportunities. And as I went to what is called the Commission of the Status of Women, which is CSW, which is done at the United Nations and has been going since the 1940s, I was overwhelmed with the women that came in from all over the world to share and to speak and to give and to learn. And that's where we are. We need to not only be an NGO, but we need to also be able to use the arm of the United Nations. The Commission on the Status of Women is once a year, but it allows and opens doors to so many women and programs across the world where we can share what we are doing and they can share what they are doing. IPPI is all about peace. It is a sponsor of ours that is helping us as we go on this journey towards an NGO, because it's got a lot of little curves and ways to get there. But they have said, we'll help you any way we can. And they are also about women and children, bringing them home against anti-trafficking. So it brings the opportunity for us to share our work. It's the power of group. It is the wisdom of circles. And I want to just close with the United Nations. What this does is you have the CSW, as I've mentioned. There's also another event called the Indigenous Forum, which is once a year. And this gives the opportunity to be able to go and to sit at the table and to speak what is important. And when I went to CSW many years ago, I can still see Grandmother Renee, Grandmother Elizabeth, and others being called to stand at the front of one of the panels and ask to speak. And people stopped and people listened. And that is where we are. And so just know that this is an invaluable way in which our voices can be heard. And throughout the year, once we have an NGO at the UN, several representatives can go for any subject that's being talked about at the UN. So I just want to honor IPI. I want to honor Great Balance and Amanda. Ann Smith, I want to honor you and all the work you do with Earth Institute. I honor everybody who is on. And I will close mine with just a tiny, tiny little song. I hear the silence calling me, so softly calling me to the place I've always known. Oh.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask one more person to share and to send us away with good thoughts. I'm sorry, I tell so many people I want you guys to be on there because I want you to say something, and I'm not going to get to everybody, but I want to ask Grandmother Renee, who I love with all my heart, who I honor for all the things that she's done for so many people to help us to get through those hard times in our lives. I'm going to ask her if she can just share with us some final words and then help us to send us on our way. Please, Grandmother Renee. You guys will have to unmute yourselves.
Hi, Sega, Sewakwega, Ganadesa Youngets. I am so honored. I am Wagatsioni. I'm so happy that the men are here. I like to thank the men. We went, when we were in the UN, we prayed for those in leadership, the men. We've been praying for the men, and it's good to hear that the men are stepping forward. And it makes us so happy to see this, because we've been doing ceremonies in our community where we come from. We come from the great law of peace. And it's been always our mission is to review and renew the words of peace to everyone. And that is to welcome and unburden them. And so what we have heard here is the words of the grief. And so at this time, I would like us all to rub our hands together. We're going to, we talked about all the grief that's happening in the world, and everybody says because of this pandemic, they wanted to get back to normal. Well, all this isn't normal. All the things that has been happening is because of unresolved grief. And so this is why the peacemaker came, to share a teaching. And so we have that power right now. We have that compassion and love inside of us, and we want to hold it open. Hold it open. And we're going to send it off to all of the people, to all creation, to help them to break this veil so that they can hear and they can feel and they can speak again of peace. And so we touch their forehead to wipe them of that heaviness that's on their mind. We take that and we brush their ears so that they can hear. We take this and brush the throats so that they can cry and they can speak again. And so we place it over our hearts to mend all those sadness and that grief for generations of trauma that each one of us has been carrying. And so we take it and we pull it out and we send it off so that everyone can breathe again. Breathe right down to their heels, not through their throat. Breathe right down to their heels and feel that relationship with our Mother, the Earth. And this is what the peacemaker came to remind us on how to restore peace within ourselves whenever our minds are troubled. And so it is with great honor that I have come to wipe your tears, to lift your hearts, but most of all, to brush all this grief away from you so that you can stand tall again and continue the work that you must do. This is the work that Gail and I do. We have done it with the Roman Catholic Board of Education. We are doing it with many of the teachers, because the teachers are now having to be sharing the true history of our people. And so we came to them and we offered our support. We said, you know, you are trouble. We would wish to help you. And so we took care of them first before they take care of our children. And so it is our journey that we have done here in Canada and wherever we travel. I was blessed with the grandmother's staff, and this staff has become very instrumental in the healing of our men. And so to all of you, and to Susan, and to all that have made this day possible. And so we thank the ancestors that have been guiding us and grooming us and helping us and supporting us to make and create this new world that we are to be of, because this was also prophesied a long time ago. My father was a veteran, and at this time, I was driving them around and I met a lady. We would always come together, all the veterans. And one of the wives held my hand as we give greetings to each other. And she spoke to me. She said, I'd like to tell you something. She said, do you believe in seers? I said, yes, I do. She says, well, I'm going to tell you, you're going to travel great distance. This was when I was young. And I would never believe that I could have done this if it wasn't for her validating it a long time ago. She said, you're going to be a part of a team that's going to create this new world. And so I say, hello to all the team members. We are here for a greater purpose, and that is to create that new world, not the world that we were used to when things they said was normal. Trafficking wasn't normal. Bullying wasn't normal. All this wars wasn't normal. It was an understanding that every one of us knew was of truth and passion. And so I say, Yawa, miigwech, oho, thank you for this awesome time of building this fire. Each one of us was like a log that has made this fire of love to reach all those that are not in that place of love, but of anger. And so we take away this, we brought up the energy of love at this very moment, because the worries of fear has gone up like this, but we raise the fire of compassion this way. And this is what we do together. Every one of us, we do this together. And so I say, ho.
So I guess, I guess we have to realize who we really are. If you really think about it, our hearts are pure love, and it's our hearts that undertake the task of growing and learning about what love is and how really that's what we're here for. We're here to create that love, and we're here to go through that tough times so that we can make our hearts stronger for everyone. So the more that we heal, then it passes to the world. And so that's the work of the grandmothers. So I mean, it was really wonderful getting, running out of gas on that highway, because, when we were stranded, a beautiful police officer stopped, and he took me to get gas, and he says, we got to get you off this highway. This is a very dangerous highway. And this man was married to an Indigenous woman, and so he had love for Indigenous people. And that was the luck of the draw, because it could have turned out so differently. But all of our journeys have been journeys of faith, journeys of trust, journeys of following that spiritual path that we're put on. And so when we travel and when we're our essence, it's the essence of our ancestors that guide us every step of the way. And so the grandmothers have had the experience of going through many challenges during their lives, and that's why the grandmothers are chosen to carry on this work, because we're able to look at our heart and how many times it's been bent and twisted and pulled and torn and bleeding, but we've been able to mend that broken heart. And so it's that knowledge that helps to go out into the world and to create something that is much stronger. So saying that our work is not done. You know, I always look at new beginnings, and we started back in 2000. Renee and I started way back in the 80s, you know, with grandmother Sarah and, you know, Jan Longboat and, you know, a few others. And we, in our community, were harassed because we were doing things that were not our way, you know, but we were reaching out to the world, and the world was listening, and it was that fire that sparked, you know, the creation of, you know, the Turtle Island grandmothers, and, you know, the grandmothers circle the earth, and, you know, the River Sidon and the land of the dancing deer and ancestral voices, and, you know, all of the different umbrellas that we all carry, because and grandmother's voice, can't forget grandmother's voice. All of our work is a culmination of years of planting seeds. And I remember the vision once was, you know, once we start to plant these seeds, and it's going to be like fountains going everywhere, fountains of light going everywhere. And that's exactly what has happened. You know, there's fountains of the light of the grandmothers, expanding beyond borders that we even knew we had. You know, it's a universal love now that we're creating, because the work is creating itself, and we're very proud to be part of it. So my beautiful cousin Marcia, you know, she has taken a beautiful journey in our walk with us as well. And I would like to, you know, give some time for her to share, you know, some of the things that she's experienced also in the work.
Marcia, if you'd like to say a few words, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, thank you for everyone being here today. It's just been a real blessing to be in that space of listening to where we've come from and where the dreams are for where we're going. And I just want to really reflect on what Haley mentioned actually in that interview, and that was about leaving the past behind, because truly the past is one thing that we can't change. So it's time to quit worrying about it. It's time to let go of the things that keep us burdened from that time, because the more we can do that, the more it frees us up for that space for forgiveness. Forgiveness for forgiving ourselves at first, and also forgiving others, because those things are energy draining, they're love draining. They don't allow that space for love. So the more you can unload your burdens, let go of them, because there's just things you can't change. And so it's time to look at things in a different way, make space for that love, become that fountain of love. Like Gail said, you know, we're all that potential for all that beautiful golden love, to be able to be out there and, you know, sharing with others. And just by being your true authentic self, feeling and thinking and speaking straight from your heart, that's going to have the greatest impact, to be that example, to be that inspiration and that beacon of light. So I just thank each and every one of you for the path you're walking and for being here with all of us today. And I'm excited to the day when we can all get together in person again and carry on with this beautiful work. I know we're all working hard individually, and it all adds up. So yeah, I just wanted to say it's a great team. And so I just wanted to thank Susan again, and Rodney especially, for being at the helm there and keeping all the glitches out of the techno stuff. I'm a techno popper myself. I do my best. I think I ended up getting cut off about 3 times today. That's not bad. So I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Just carry on being true to yourself and holding that love strong. Now,
Okay, I'm going to close with a prayer and then end the call. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. Father Sky, Mother Earth, all our ancestors, all our relatives, we love you so much, and thank you so much for the time we were able to spend together as we heard the intricacies of the grandmothers and why we're doing what we're doing and how important it is. And it was so beautiful to see Haley, an actual person that is a proof and evidence of the help that we can do, and how we can help people forget those memories and move forward and live in love and life. We thank you so much for the circle. Thank you so much for the hearts and wisdom shared. Thank you so much for the week before us. I ask you help us to walk in a way that is pleasing in your sight. We are so very grateful for this time every single week. I know it fills me up and keeps me going. I thank you. I love you. Aho. See you next week, everyone.